Hi, I'm Shelley. I'm the Edgy Gardener, and welcome to my Central Illinois Garden Zone 6. It is August and things are starting to look a little tired, a little floppy, and we just need to spruce some things up today. So I am on my patio garden, which I did a tour of this area in July, and it looks very, very different. So I just want to clean it up a bit. But I did want to start off showing, I've mentioned before that my beautiful limelight hydrangea, which is sort of the star of this show back here, every year, right around this time, we get a huge storm. And I know it's right around this time because we have a big summer party every year in August, right around my husband's birthday. So I pay attention to what my garden looks like every year around that party. And it was 2 days ago that a storm happened, heavy, heavy rains. It was a glorious storm, great for the garden, but my limelight hydrangea, I came out here after it rained and I was shaking off the blooms, trying to lessen their weight so they would lift up a little bit, and some of them did, but most of them did not. So we are just going to sort of live with it that way. In previous years, I have gone in and tried to rope all of them up and tie them up, and it did not work. And I think for 3 days I suffered some sinus things. Like, I'm allergic to a lot of things, but I generally have it under control, but that was too much of my face in all of that. So we're just gonna leave it. But let me show you what else we're gonna do today. But my issue is how everything is leaning away from the fence this way. We're facing west, so the sun comes up over the house over here, and this is afternoon blaring sun. And then once it goes behind the trees back there, it gets shade, but it does get full sun. So I really do not know why we're leaning so far forward, but today I want to pull some of these weeds that are in here. Like, that's just a tiny one, but I see some big ones back there. I want to trim the phlox back and maybe stake the echinacea so they'll stand straight up, and maybe tame this container a little bit too. So I just want it to look a little bit better. It's just looking a little rough. So I have my tools set up here, and I have my gloves, some weed pulling tools, my pink lady pruners, and then some flower supports. So we're going to get into this and see if we can make this look a little better today. As I'm setting up to get back there and weave my way through the jungle here, I'm noticing we have some puddles here. And I did have my drip run this morning, but we had some really, really heavy rains the past few days. I'm eager to get in the back and see if there's more of that going on. And maybe I have a broken water line, and that's why that's happening. But I have my sloggers on today and my pants all the way down so we can handle any mud. So I want to start off trimming these phlox and then maybe putting a small hoop around them to keep them upright. I do not think they will bloom again. In the last few years, these phlox have been here, and early spring I'll do the Chelsea chop. I didn't do that this year because I didn't remember if I liked them that way. And I think they did this last year too. They fell forward, but not as much. So I think I need to remember to do that. I'll put that in my notes to go ahead and do the Chelsea chop and keep the hoop around them. So I think right now I'm going to take about that much off and see if we can get this standing straight up. And maybe that'll take the pressure off the coneflowers in front. This might also leave a big hole back here, but I can deal with holes. I can fill those in. And I mentioned what the heavy rains did to the hydrangeas. This is not due to the rains. These were leaning before the rain happened, but I was watching the rain push them even further down. I do not remember the variety of this summer phlox. I think I got this from a friend's garden, and she wasn't a plant name person. She had beautiful plants, a beautiful garden. She just doesn't care about the names of the plants. So I wish I knew the variety because it's pretty hardy. As I am looking at this, I am thinking that the flower hoop I have is way too small, but it's the only one I have left. Okay, here is the hoop that I have. This is just one of those very lightweight, dare I say chintzy flower hoops at the box store that you can find. And I've realized that my plants are more robust than these hoops because when I get to put them on in the beginning of the season, at the end of the season, I find them unhooked like this and leaning over. But this is what I have on hand, so I'm going to see if I can use this. I hope I can. And it goes into the 2024 notes of getting a more sturdy flower support for back here. And you know, it's never a good idea to do it this late in the season. Doing it in the beginning of the spring is a much better plan for the hoop, for the plant, for everybody involved actually. Because now it's a matter of encircling the whole plant, finding where the legs go, and getting everybody to obey. So we're just kind of going to start at one end of the plant and put the end of the circle hoop there and then try to gather everything else in around it. I'm going to put the stake down to get some stability. Now I get more and more of these stems in here, and then I start pushing down the plant support legs. So I go further and further down the plant. These legs are very flimsy and they bend so easily, so I have to grab the bottom of the leg and push down instead of pushing from the top, which then I lose hold of the stems of the plants. This is what it is looking like right now. You can see the edge of the hoop, and I have most of the plant in there. But what I'm going to do is the stragglers that are hanging out that I couldn't see before, I'm just going to cut those shorter than the hoop and not try and get them in there. Try and clean that up a little bit so then I can work on the echinaceas. Okay, so I think I have most of the phlox tamed. So now I'm going to try and get, just with these supports, this echinacea standing up straight. I believe this is the coneflower purpura. And see, I'll try and hook them in here. But this is what I run into. This is such a heavy stem and it's already leaning that I almost have to put the support in angling the other way so the stalk does not pull the support down. I'm not good at this. I seem to do it wrong each time. I'm going to gather as much in my hand as I think will fit in this. And not hit a water line, a water tube. It does lean forward still, but not nearly as bad. We're going to cut some of these back. Well, that would be a more impressive sight if the coneflowers were in better bloom. Obviously, they have had their time to shine and now are petering out. I would love to leave this, and as these seeds mature, just spread them out for more coneflowers, because I wanted a lot more coneflowers back here. And I will see what I can do with this pot here. I believe that it's plain the blue salvia, and then I have some verbena down below that's not blooming. Actually, it's a Supertunia Bordeaux and some verbena. And then that might be the Noir Proven Winners Coleus. Okay, I'm trying to show this to you as best I can. It's hard to hold the camera and have two hands to do this. But I'm standing this salvia, playing the blues. This is an annual salvia, and they have very, I don't know, delicate branches. They're thick and they grow, but you move them just a little bit and they snap so easily. And I realize that's the risk I'm taking of thinning them out, but I think it might be worth it at the end. I'm hoping so, anyway. I'm gonna stick another one in here and kind of do it low and try and grab this branch from the bottom. Well, nope, that one's not going to work. So I'm going to move this back a little bit more. Everywhere I step, there is mud. Now all of the mud is coming from me. Okay, so this looks better, initially better. Look, you can see more of the coleus down here, and I love the way the dark plays off that bright purple. And I don't think that I know the stems won't change direction and grow straight up. At least it'll give this coleus room to breathe. And because this salvia was leaning so far forward, this is what it did to this plant down here. It is all yucky and rotten. And you know what? Look, here's my plant tags. So I have in here the Supertunia Priscilla, which I love, the plain the blue salvia, and then Superbena Imperial Blue, which you can't see anything of. So what I'm going to do is cut the Superbena back and cut some coleus back and try to revive this. It's hard to cut anything back this late in the season, and especially when you know you have people coming over. But I tell myself, you know, nobody else knows what I wanted this to look like, so not to worry. Now, coleus is wonderful to trim back. And plus it's blooming, and I don't like it to bloom. I like it to flush out. So that's a good time to trim that anyway. Because if you trim it back, it'll just continue to get bushy instead of leggy. Okay, here we go. We're just going to take this. Whew, I don't like doing this. Feels like parkour getting back here, not stepping on plants. Okay, well, that looks very one-sided. See, I have this big gap right here, but it's standing straight up, and that's what I wanted. Another note, I think I do also need to stake the yarrow, which I believe is Firefly Peach Sky. Those are the words in the title. I just don't know if I'm saying them in the right order. This is their first year in here, so maybe they were just, maybe next year they will start off sturdier and stand straight up. But just in case, because I don't want to deal with this next year, I need to cage those. So other than my pruners lying there on the ground and my muddy footprints, I think I did my best work, or at least I did everything I could today at this point in time. But I am realizing and having more and more confidence with cutting things back. Ignore the hydrangea there, but even this low growers catmint, that bloomed beautiful in the spring, and then I cut that back maybe 3 weeks ago, and it's already filled in. And at this point, I don't care if it doesn't bloom again, as long as it just creates a carpet. And then we go to the Magic Carpet Spirea. I did prune that in the spring to try and get it more bushy, because when I planted it, it was sort of scraggly. And there again, the the salvia was cut back pretty small, and that, I think that will bloom again. The clematis I moved earlier this year, and that is a pink champagne, blooms pink in the spring, and it's just lovely, but I moved that over so I could put something tall behind the bird feeder right here, and that's what I have some seeds inside. I just haven't started those yet. Just a garden variety grass. I wish I knew the name of that. I love that in the fall. Spilled wine Weigela, and I think this is my tag here. Yes, balloon flower here. That got misplaced, stepped on somehow. I have some liatris back here, which first season planted that. It was very wilty. I think next year it will do much better. And my New England asters, chocolate chip ajuga, a betony, humelo, and the cone flowers we did, the phlox, and lady's mantle. I cut this back and it looks like it's blooming again. It's never done that for me before. Another Weigela, the yarrow, and then this is pink perfusion, salvia with lamb's ear, and then the boxwood. Oh, and then my Jack Manny clematis is back here. And then another hydrangea, and then this is my pinky winky hydrangea, and beautiful. Look at these blooms. It is this creamy white color at first, and then it goes into these blushes, and then we will get sort of a deep burgundy in the fall. I am loving this shrub, and this one stands up to the rains better than all of the rest. So I'm very happy with that. So that is the totality of this bed here, which I call the rooster bed because of this birthday present right here, Mr. Rooster. He overlooks the whole bed. He's kind of getting swallowed up by the hydrangea. While we're in the mood to cut things back, let's go down the pool. Let's grab the pruners. And let's walk down here. I'm going to say something really quick. These sun patients are wonderful, but I bought the plants a little bit too big to be able to fit them into this tiny area here, and I thought I wouldn't mind the gap, but I do. So I would like to change my method next year. The year before I had multicolored sage planted down there, and that bushed out and it was really pretty. But whatever I do, I need to get really, really small plugs to be able to fit them in that tiny space there, because this gap has bothered me all season. Going down the line, I have some chocolate vine that we're going to do a project with. This coreopsis, guys, Zagreb coreopsis, Zagreb, Z-A-G-R-E-B. I love it. I should cut it back because the major blooms are done, but it's so pretty. I love the bright yellow next to the blue water of the pool. Another chocolate vine. Oh, see, this liatris escaped its plant support there. This is Supreme Cantaloupe Echinacea, and so far it is my best performing echinacea this season, and it's the newest one. And like I love just the old-fashioned purpurea, the pink echinacea, but I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go off my own track and get more hybrids. I have some unnamed cannas and my unfortunate weed tree of my neighbors with a bunch of dead branches in there. This canna is lovely. I don't like these colors together so much, so I think I would plant a different canna here, but I love purple with pink flowers. And then I have a Summerific Beauty, I think. Berry Awesome, Summerific Berry Awesome hibiscus, which this bloom was beautiful yesterday. Look at that. An unnamed striped canna back there that has not taken off. Okay, but what we're going to do is this container right here with this banana tree that is just now putting out a new leaf. It has not done as well as it did last year. Last year the pot was over here, so I don't know, maybe it got just a little bit more morning sun, But when I put the hibiscus here, I moved the pot so that could get its, time to shine. So I don't remember the names of the flowers again. It's almost there. They're on the tip of my tongue, but I cannot think of them. So that is why I always put the tags somewhere in here. Okay, this is Supertunia bubblegum. I didn't recognize it because it wasn't as robust. I have Verbena Imperial Blue, that's what I thought it was, and then Diamond Frost Euphorbia here. And it is not robust. I mean, bubblegum, everybody knows bubblegum should do better than this, and it's not. So I think we're just going to give this a light trim. Not fun, but the sacrifice should be rewarding. So the reward should be worth the sacrifice. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, if this is going to bother you, close your eyes. Wish I could close mine. I should have done this weeks ago, and this is something that every year I say next year I'm going to do better, and I just need to put it in my notes that I come out here in the beginning of August, think, wow, I should trim that back and, for another flush of blooms, but then I sit there and think, but the summer party, I want it to look nice, so I'll just trim it after. Well, that's a good 2.5 weeks, where if I did it in the beginning of August, end of July, by the time, August 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th came around, it would already be flushed out. So in my notes, in my calendar for next year, end of July, beginning of August, trim the tired ones back. Don't think about it, just do it. Well, now I can see that there's a beach ball behind the container. You guys probably saw that as I was trimming them up. I think I'm going to go in one more time and just trim this up a little bit, because I would love this draping over into these burgundy leaves. Okay, so even from a distance, that looks fine. And you know what? Even if there aren't blooms on the flowers, even on the plants, at least the pot is pretty. And that is a good reason to put pretty pots in there, because the pots are the show before the flowers come into their own. So let's see what else we can do over here. These Jazzberry Supertunias, I'm very happy with. There again, every time. I love my 9 bark, you guys know that. But I planted 3 Jazzberries, and it is, August, and they're just starting to fill in. So I think for an earlier show, I would put at least 1 more in there. Maybe scoot that one over, do 1 here, and scoot that one over a little bit. And I think I would get this show earlier. I think the next thing I'm going to do is this sweet potato vine. There again, this is another pretty pot, but the sweet potato vine, I think Marguerite is one of the most vigorous plants. And honestly, last year when I was looking at what I had, I thought this would be really pretty, but it's too much for that area. And if I wanted sweet potato vine, I shouldn't have planted anything else in there. Let's cut this one back too and see what we can find underneath. Wow, look at this. This is so strong and healthy. And it cuts so easily. Isn't that beautiful? I don't mind it cascading to the ground. I just don't want it getting in the pathway. And, well, look at that. You can just uncover those flowers there. Okay guys, here we go. Another savage chop. So in here I have Superbena Peachy Keen. Oh, Vermillionaire, that's what it is. Kufia. Violet Night Lobularia, which is on the other side, which has never bloomed because the sweet potato vine came over it so fast. And then the Meteor Shower Verbena back here. I love when I save my tags. Well guys, I may not have done this one a favor. I can see the pot, which I do love this container. It actually came from my daughter and son-in-law's house. When they moved in, they didn't want it and brought it over here, and it's been one of my favorites. The Vermillionaire, I have seen the hummingbirds around it, and that's the only reason I got it, but I do not like the color. I do not like the orange, it's too bright. So I don't think I'll be doing that one again. But here's my Carnage. The other two containers we just did, I feel very confident about. This one, I'm not happy with. I may have to come out here and snip a few things to make it look a little bit better. And in my last video, I did this hydrangea. Remember, I trimmed it back because the tornado systems that came in, or the huge thunderstorms that were almost tornadoes, they were microbursts, came in and just whipped it into a weird shape. So I cut this back, and I have a lot of leaf damage, and what I'm guessing is that they were covered, it's just sun exposure. You know, they were covered with a lot of brothers and sisters, and they really didn't get full sun, and then those leaves came off, and so I think that's scorching. I'm hoping that's what it is. The shape is looking better. I do have some discoloring up there. I wonder if that's some chlorosis. Oh yeah, see up there? I probably do need to feed this. And I still need to stake the tree. If you can see it, you see how much it leans this way? Right, that way. It needs to come straight up. I'm just worried about getting into that Mr. Bowling Ball there. One more thing I will update you on, and then that will be it. But this is the Coleus Wall we planted together in the spring. Isn't that nice and robust? And I went through all of the varieties before, and later on in the month I will go back again and I'll start trimming them back just a little bit, but I do want to leave them like this for the party. But I've been very happy with it. And I did take this sweet potato vine from the container we just chopped back. I chopped some pieces and put them in here, just stuck the stem right in there, and I did 3 of them. And that one barely took off. You can see it's just coming up under that red coleus, but these 2 took off. And that's what I like, just a little bit of draping to add some brightness to the whole container. And that's it for today. Thank you everybody for coming along with me and doing the hard things in the garden, cutting back beautiful things that we work so hard to get to grow. If you have any comments on things that you are cutting back, or maybe cutting it back differently than what I am, I'd love to hear it. I appreciate your comments, I appreciate your likes. Again, thank you so much, and I hope you have time in your gardens.